I'm Tim Neiderriter, a fantasy and science fiction author with 8 books out.
When sitting down to visualize your world, what are the first things that you tend to see most clearly?
I tend to get a clear image of the creatures and people of the new world early on. That's kind of where I start.
How do you like to introduce elements of your world? A narration explaining everything right up front, through unspoken actions sprinkled throughout, dialogue with your characters speaking to one another, or monologues where your character breaks the fourth wall, addressing your audience directly or talks to themselves, or a combo of these things, or something else entirely?
I prefer to use a mix of in-character thoughts, dialogue, and action to present my worlds to the audience. Often, description at the start of each chapter helps me build up a groundwork for locations and events prior to diving into the active elements of the setting.
When it comes to world building, what element do you feel is the most superfluous more times than not?
The most superfluous element of world building is oftentimes the magic system's source in fantasy and the justification for high technology in science fiction. See, if you want something to work in speculative fiction, you'll find a way to make it work, so don't worry so much about trying to convince people that your thing is actually possible. That's my opinion.
Where do you feel most artists go wrong when it comes to world building?
World building is a balance of showing enough to make the world distinctive, but not so much that the details bury the story. I think most creators, myself included, could put more thought into the elements they include rather than just adding more elements. And that's something that is really challenging because sometimes you just want to add a ton of stuff. You want your story to be big and expansive, at least I do. And if you don't, pare it down and just expand and develop existing parts, you're going to end up with something that could be a mess. Sometimes. I mean, who knows? It could work. But I think that's one of the bigger problems that people do deal with. And just put too much in. Load it full of stuff. Vampire penguins and whatever.
In thinking about your world expanding, is your approach to add things you've already created outside of the story you were telling, or creating something from scratch, brand new, to add into and build upon the world that already exists?
I'm such an inveterate world builder. I frequently add stuff from work I previously abandoned when building a story. I still like building stuff from scratch, though. World building gets boring if you recycle too much, but on the other hand, if you're writing a series like I'm trying to do now, you gotta reuse sometimes and just develop and expand on what you already have. You can find all my books and my stuff at timneiderriter.com. Thanks.